Good morning. Welcome here on Friday, June the 9th. My name is Mirek Kolemnik. I'm the Vice Chairman of the Parliament, and I'm also member of the Rail Administration Management Board. And I'm very glad that you accepted our invitation and that we, together with the Association for the Infrastructural Development and my colleague, Mr. Tomáš Janeba, we can welcome you here. So, Tomáš, I would like to give you room for a few sentences. Okay, I will continue. I have to say that we were very nervous when we prepared this event, because if you followed the media, you perhaps noticed that there was an extraordinary parliamentary meeting yesterday, and that could affect also our conference if that extraordinary meeting continued. At the end, it ended at 1:30 a.m. So that means approximately 8.5 hours before these premises became available. So we are glad for that, and we can focus on the topic of our event, the high-speed rail and private capital. Tomáš will shortly introduce you to today's agenda, and as we are used also from our previous conferences, our meeting will be very interactive. We prepared also Slido. We can ask questions using Slido, and you can use the QR code to access the respective Slido account. So please get involved in the discussions. And on behalf of the Economic Chamber, I would like to say that this entire story of high-speed rail originated here in the Parliament in 2017 in March. This was the end of the at that moment, we managed to adopt a breakthrough decision that requested the government to focus on the development of high-speed rail. And I'm very glad that we successfully made this decision, approved this decision here across the political spectrum. So the project is now up and running, and my colleagues from the Rail Administration will tell you more about that. The project will be started shortly. We expect to start developing the first sections in 2025, and now we really need to focus on the options for financing this huge project. I arrived from Barcelona yesterday evening for this extraordinary parliamentary meeting, and I traveled to Barcelona from Madrid by high-speed train, and it was an extraordinary experience. It took only 2 hours and 15 minutes, and this is perhaps something that most of us have experience with, and something that we want to introduce also here in the Central Europe. So now I would like to introduce our distinguished guest before we start the panel number one. The first guest, and I'm very glad that he accepted our invitation, is the Ambassador of France in Czech Republic, His Excellency Alexis Duterte. So, Your Excellency, please take the floor for an opening speech.
Dobrý den, dámy a pánové.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am learning Czech, but I will speak in French. Thank you very much for the invitation. And I already know how to say high-speed rail in Czech.
Mr. of the Chamber of Deputies, Madam Director General, Mr. President of ARI, Mr. Director General of Viasalis, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very happy and honored to be here today. In fact, it's the second day of an event that we've been jointly organizing, what we call the Czech-French Railway Days. But in fact, and Mr. Vice President knows it, France and the Czech Republic have been for long partners with a strong interest in cooperation in high-speed trains and the development of high-speed lines. And we see today with a great interest the deepening of the debate and how mature the debate is now in the Czech Republic. And we are very eager with here yesterday and today a very big delegation from France, from SNCF Réseau, to bring our expertise and to try and cooperate further in helping the Czech Republic moving forward to this great challenge, which is the development of high-speed lines, and particularly in the field of their financing through the PPP model. And today, I'd like to just focus on a few of those elements. First, yesterday, we so-called celebrated the fifth anniversary of the cooperation between SNCF Réseau in France and Správa železnic here in the Czech Republic. And what I've seen, I've been here now for 2.5 years, is a very strong mutual interest in gaining in expertise, technical expertise on how you plan, you organize, and then how you finance those projects. And I'm very happy to see that the previous government and this government are very consistent in pursuing this cooperation. In France, we have now 42 years of experience with high-speed lines. It is, we have 230 stations in France that are able to welcome high-speed trains. We have nearly 5 million passengers every day in France that use train, and of course the French people are very much attached to, let's say, the benefits that high-speed trains have brought in terms of easy mobility, in terms of low-carbon mobility, but also in terms of economic development. It's not just a technological showcase, but it's also economic development, spatial planning that has been brought to many cities in France, and not only between Paris and the rest of the country, but also between different regional capital cities. Today, the focus is more on the financing, and I would say we have here also some experience to share. We all know that we are in difficult periods. We've had the COVID, we have the Russian aggression in Ukraine. We all know that public resources are today scarce, and that it's more and more difficult to find some public finances for such big infrastructure projects. So in France, we have been developing PPP projects and the financing of big infrastructure projects through PPPs. And it has proved very efficient, and not only in the field of high-speed train. And I'd like to just maybe focus on that. In my brief, I was reminded that we have two very old experiences of PPP. So the oldest one in France is the Canal of Craponne in Provence, 1554. And the other one, which in the Czech Republic is maybe more known, is in the 17th century. We built the Canal du Midi in the south of France. And this was also one of the very first, I would say, forms of PPPs. Since then, we've had several hundreds of public works facilities that have been built and operated under PPPs in all sectors. And this is maybe what I should say. Defense, justice, prisons, hospitals, road and rail transport infrastructure, schools, universities, administrative facilities, sport equipment, public lighting. All those fields have been invested by the model of PPP. Of course, PPP is a complex tool. And these projects require some sophisticated handling and also some very, sophisticated, I would say, expertise. But they prove to be efficient. Over the past 10 years, we have, in the field of high-speed lines, developed 3 big infrastructure projects on time, roughly on budget, in high-speed lines. The Western Atlantic line between Tours and Bordeaux, what is also known as the contournement between Nice, the bypass between Nîmes and Montpellier, 60 kilometers on time, on budget, to the day, exact day, and also the line, the high-speed line now going from Paris to Brittany. So over the past, I would say, yes, 10, 12 years, we have had 3 very concrete examples of successful PPP in high-speed lines with 2 different models there, what we call a concession model, which was for the Atlantic line, and 2 other models of PPPs, which is the partnership, the partnership contract. Which have proved here also to be very efficient. The colleagues here from SNCF Réseau are also happy and will be also happy to share with you today the experience. In the Czech Republic, we have been, and the Vice President knows it, but we've been very happy together with the consortium between Vinci and Meridiam to bring this expertise when it comes to motorways. So you've certainly been following the developments on the D4. This is for long the first PPP in the Czech Republic, and here also proving to be on time, on budget, halfway now. I was pleased to inaugurate it with Mr. Havlicek 2 years ago. I was 2 weeks ago with Minister Kupka again on the field. And we see very much that it is a good solution. It is being also important for local communities, which are being listened to, and which, with those infrastructure, will bring benefits. So we are very happy to show that starting from the D4, we have some valuable expertise to bring local companies and to bring also local communities on board of those PPP projects. And we're very much looking forward to further being candidates in those projects, D35, and then probably, hopefully, projects of PPP lines. I think I have to stop, but I'll just say that we have many infrastructure projects in common, not only in the field of nuclear energy, as you know, but also the field of high-speed lines is, we feel, a very good tool for the Czech Republic to decarbonize, to bring benefits and economic benefits to local populations, and also to bring the transition to a low-carbon mobility, and also the interconnections within Europe. So thank you very much for your understanding, and looking forward for further cooperation and development. Thank you so much. Děkuji.
Tak já moc děkuji panu velvyslanci. Ano, time schedule.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Our time schedule must be accurate. So there's something you cannot see, but our speakers can. We've got a clock here, and whenever it starts flashing, we know that it's about the time to finish our speech. We've heard that this is a project across several election periods, so I'm very glad that there will be 2 more guests. One technical detail: in front of you at the tables you can listen either Czech or English. There's a small icon with headphones, and whenever you push this button you can choose from 2 channels, Czech or English. I am aware that you perhaps will not need any translation. So we've discussed a project spreading over several election periods. I'm very glad that I can see former representative of the Ministry of Transport and the current representative of the Ministry of Transport. First of all, I'd like to pass the floor on to my esteemed colleague, former Minister of Transport and now Deputy Speaker of the Chamber of Deputies of the Parliament in the Czech Republic, Karel Havlíček. Your Excellency, dear Alexis, Deputy Minister, dear guests. For the very first time I heard the word emeritus, meaning former minister. It sounds quite surprising to me. So, to discuss high-speed rail, we all wish for them to exist, but we should perhaps discuss also risks related to them. These risks should be properly named for us to be able to eliminate them and to develop high-speed rail. This government continues in preparing construction projects related to high-speed rails. Moravská Brána project was expected to start in 2025. Podřibsko, those 60 kilometers in 2027. So we continue to work on this project, but we must not forget the most important aspect, and that is funding. Backbone network is something that we should focus on. That is from Dresden to Brno to Břeclav and then to the north towards Ostrava, with a little question mark hanging above the section leading to Ostrava. Again, we should not forget about the funding aspect. So the project that I have just mentioned in the next 20 years should cost us, and that's something that we calculated a year and a half ago, something around 600 billion Czech crowns. The State Railway Administration has got enormous budget, and good news is that the government continues to increase the budget originally set in 2020-2021. In the past, the Railway Administration received around 41 billion and now it's around 70 billion Czech crowns. But some money are needed for the existing network, corridor railways, local railways or tracks. We need to invest almost 100 billion on ETCS. That's something that we will need in train engines too. So the budget is very tight. There's no doubt about it. And we must be very careful in terms of spending money on maintenance and repairs. That is something that can be dangerous over time. I'm not attacking the current government. It's something that is simply reality, and we will have to borrow money from the European Investment Bank to be able to cover our costs. We develop corridor tracks, we maintain, we do repairs. The State Railway Administration can draw money from Europe as well as the Directorate of Roads and Motorways, such as a loan from the European Investment Bank can be drawn. So as you can see, there is no money left for the high-speed rail, and we are planning enormous project, one enormous project, and to be able to manage that project we will have to plan it money-wise for the upcoming 20 years. I believe that Deputy Minister Hlubučková will get back to this topic. Thanks to her and her team back in 2021, in August, September, when I was the Minister of Transport, they started to prepare the first 3 projects between Prague and Brno, and the new government approved the projects to be partially funded from the European funds. But what else? What other funds will be used? I'm a big fan of PPP projects. One of the best projects that we managed to develop was that 32-kilometer section. I can see familiar faces from that project. It's a road or a highway project. It's a great project, one of the best implemented in the Czech Republic in the past perhaps 30 years. Those 32 kilometers are being developed in a professional way. And they stick to schedule. Those of you who travel to České Budějovice must agree with me. I've never seen a construction project like that. There was a tender, we tested everything, and it's truly an important project. PPP does make sense. And unless we use this path, I'm pretty sure we will not be able to find the money. So, European money, PPP projects, and something from the national budget. Also, we need to increase capacities of the existing rail. So, if we think forward, if we deploy PPP projects, it's not a gift, obviously, we will have to repay the money, but the entity, our partner, will operate the project for 20 to 30 years, and I dare say it's the only way how to deal with this topic nowadays. So this is all from me. You'll have more competent and more expert guests during the day. I wish you success, and I wish you our project's success. Thank you for your attention. Thank you, Karel Havlíček. On my own behalf, from the viewpoint of the Economic Committee of the House of Deputies, the road PPP is truly lovely. It's a lovely project. We kept saying this would be a great project, because if it's not, we can't see any future. But the project is successful. The House of Deputies approved the project, and it's looking very, very well. Our next guest, distinguished guest, is Lenka Hlubočková, Principal Director for Economic and Infrastructure at the Ministry of Transport in the Czech Republic. Lenka, yours the floor. Good morning. Let me respond to what Mr. Kolovratník said. The resolution adopted by the government in 2017 and the follow-up resolution of the government adopting a program for high-speed rail, comprising both conventional and high-speed rail. The Ministry of Transport and the SFDY spend a lot of money on preparing high-speed projects, money from both the national budget and the European funds. We are well aware of the demandingness of these projects. Since 2017, we've done a lot. The preparations have been very intense and closely monitored. In the past few months at the Ministry of Transport, we focused on an analysis of financial instruments on ways to fund high-speed railways. And we have concluded that we cannot rely on European subsidies as something that would be able to provide for over 1 trillion Czech crowns. These models will have to be combined. We heard a lot about PPP. PPP projects are not used only for railway projects, and we at the Ministry of Transport must understand that also road infrastructure will be implemented in parallel with high-speed rail, and we'll have to combine the money expended by the government for building motorways where there are other projects being designed, and at the same time we will be engaged in high-speed rails. We've checked several models, concession models, issuance of bonds, etc. It's pretty clear that development of high-speed rail will not be funded as standard infrastructure from SFDI as we were used to fund it. Financial demands that are increasing due to the decreasing value of money must be combined, must be segmented. Not every financial instrument is suitable for every section of high-speed rail in the Czech Republic. We also should closely observe the opportunities that we have in the Czech Republic. The transport infrastructure is highly demanding. We've managed to pay up the infrastructural debt that has been often mentioned. There are lots of construction projects, and it contributes to required mandatory expenditures. They must be used in the most beneficial way. We must take leverage, and we do not want to spend the money in vain.
Once again, I would like to thank you for inviting me to this event and for organizing this conference, because I think that sharing of information in general contributes to better implementation of projects, and for it is true even more for high-speed rail projects. Thank you. Thank you. I would like to thank Lenka Hlubočková for her opening words. And now we will continue with opening speech by Tomáš Janeba, who will introduce the agenda for today. And I would like to thank Tomáš for coming with this initiative, because it is his initiative. He came to me with this idea, and I would like to pass the floor to him. So, Tomáš, the floor is yours. Martin, thank you very much. I would like to welcome you once again. We haven't seen so many people in this hall for quite a long time. I would like to welcome also the representative of CNCF Réseau, the infrastructure manager in France. This forum has been organized by the Association for the Development of Infrastructure in collaboration with the Embassy of France in Prague, with Business France, with Rail Infrastructure Manager of the Czech Republic, and with the Vice Chairman of the Committee on Economic Affairs of the Chamber of Deputies, Mr. Kolovratník. And I would also like to mention Ondřej Lochman, who helped to organize this conference but cannot be here with us. These are our partners, without which this event could not take place. Without their contributions, it could not take place. CSOB from KBC Group, one of the biggest institutions financing PPC projects. Currently, another partner is Vansi Concession and Vansi Rail from Vansi Group, a construction company, but also an investor and concessionaire in many projects around the world. Also, Meridiam and Infrastructure Fund, a global fund based in Paris, and an investment fund, John Lang, based in London. So I would like to thank the partners. We will hear about their projects. We made a thorough selections of successful projects on high-speed rail, and the last project that will be introduced to you, the latest project that will be introduced to you, will be the delivery of 122 train sets as a PPP project projects in Great Britain. As you've heard, the preparation of high-speed rail in the Czech Republic continues, and we would like to focus on financing today. The purpose of this conference is to share information and inspire you about how high-speed rail can be implemented with the use of private equity, private capital. You can see an example in France where they managed to develop 650 kilometers of high-speed rail in 3 projects over 8 years. So let's get inspired. We will hear how they achieved that. And I would also like to mention that yesterday we had a Czech-French railway days where our French colleagues presented their experience, and we saw that the exchange of information works very well. The infrastructure manager, Czech infrastructure manager, collaborates with their French partner, and this is also a promise for us that the high-speed rail developed in the Czech Republic will be up to the European standards as we need them. So I'm very glad for this collaboration, and this is all for me. I'm looking forward for the discussion. Please use Slido to ask questions. And now allow me to welcome and introduce the last speaker in this opening block, which is the CEO of Via Salis, a concessionaire in the first PPP project, D4 motorway project, and executive director of Vinci Highways for Central Europe, Christian Bigert.
Tak a jak slyšíte, malá vložka, Christian Bigert dneska slaví.
So this music was to celebrate his birthday, because it is his birthday today. And we decided to use this opportunity. Beautiful 36th birthday, so happy birthday to you. I would like to ask if any of our panelists has birthday today. Please let us know. We will share the cake. I speak a little bit Czech because I will continue in English.
Dear Vice Minister, dear colleagues and dear guests, I'm really happy to be here. Obviously, it's my birthday, so there's no hiding on this. I'm going to present in a few words the first linear infrastructure PPP in the Czech Republic, the D4 Via Salis project. Next slide, please. Oh, it's me. Okay. First, a few words about Vinci, one of the 2 shareholders backing this project. The other shareholder is Meridiam. In this project, Vinci is involved through Vinci Highways as concessionaire and as operator of the highway. In Central Europe, Vinci Highways is the #1 PPP player in Germany with 5 concessions in highways. In Slovakia and here in the Czech Republic, we are running the first ever PPP projects, respectively, together with our partner Meridiam. Construction on the D4 is done 100% by Vinci Construction. So what is this project about? We are building, as Mr. Havlicek just said, 32 kilometers of new highway, what we call Greenfield Highway. And we are also refurbishing 16 kilometers, bringing the whole highway to a new level with the most modern highways-related technologies. It will be the first highway in the Czech Republic covered 100% by surveillance cameras, hence improving the safety for all users. During and after the construction, the highway is operated by Vinci Highways through Via Salis operations. The specialty of this project is the application of a full building information modeling, BIM, not only during the construction, but also during the maintenance phase. But it took a while to get here, so here's my story. I once attended a global PPP conference in Prague in, I think, 2005 or 2006, where many delegates like me believed that it would not take long for a flow of PPP projects to emerge in the Czech Republic and other countries in Central and Eastern Europe. However, it did take a bit longer. The starting point for the D4 must have been sometime before 2016, as you can see on the graph, but it already took more than 7 years now to get where we are today. The D4 PPP project has finally managed to create a positive reference for PPPs in the country, and it is now a window of opportunity for the Czech Republic to use this momentum and speed up the development of its transport infrastructure, also by using PPPs as a procurement method. Now things are moving fast. As you can see here on this S-curve of the construction, as we call it, and when you pass through the D4 to Strakonice to Písek, you can see a real construction site, and we're today almost halfway through, 50% of progress. By the end of the year, it will be around 80%, and next year before Christmas, the highway will be delivered as planned. Next, please. So now a few pictures of the construction site, but I'm sure some of you must have seen it yourselves. So we are now focusing big time on bridge construction. We are now having more than 30 bridges under construction at the same time. That is huge for a project. Next, please. We have put in place a brand new production facility for concrete and asphalt. Our mixing plant that you can see here on the picture is able to produce 240 tons per hour, which is tremendous compared to other facilities usually. About 500,000 tons will be produced in total, and about a fifth comes from recycled asphalt from the existing sections, where we recycle 100% of all materials. Next, please. So now here you can see this milling work, what we call milling, on the highway, and this is on section 7 and 8 in the south, where we are now coating 1 kilometer of brand new highway every day. So when you go to Písek, you will see this is moving extremely fast. Next, please. So what makes PPP projects special? My simple answer is that it does way more than traditional projects. And the first value proposition that we have are our environmental ambitions. The number one objective here, of course, is to reduce our carbon footprint, to get to net zero. And for this reason, we are installing photovoltaic panels targeting 100% green energy consumption on the whole highway. Our brand new service areas will have 16 charging points for electric vehicles, and this is only the beginning, I'm sure. And these are only examples. In total, we have launched more than 15 projects in this PPP projects targeting our environmental objectives. And one little project tackling biodiversity will happen already by the end of this month, where we install 10 beehives on the existing green space of the highway. The second value proposition of a PPP is our pledge to deliver excellency, often doing more than what is asked in our contracts. First, this means to involve and engage with all stakeholders. As an example, we are in constant exchange with all more than 30 mayors of all villages and towns along the D4 highway. On safety, we pursue a strict zero accident policy, not only for us, but also for our contractors and subcontractors. Our approach to quality is demanding. The highway must last for way longer than the usual warranty periods, in our case until the end of 2049. Lastly, our services to users will be driven by excellence all the time. Our operator is applying best practices from the Vinci Highways network of more than 4,000 kilometers in 16 countries. To conclude, what is key now to make a PPP project a success? First, political will is primordial. We see this happening and growing here in the Czech Republic. Yesterday, Tomáš Čaček, I think he's here somewhere, concluded where there is a will, there is also a way, or a railway, I think you put. And we at Via Salis are supporting this, of course, by acting as a positive reference every single day. Next, the stable framework. But not only legally speaking. What is important here is a competent and engaged public counterparty. Again, this is what we are seeing here. It goes without saying that a good preparation is a must, the third point on my list. And we are really happy to see what the ministry, the RSD, and all the consultants have done before the launch of the D4 project. Fourth, the winning consortium, of course, must be a good one. I hope we are a good one. I hope we can prove this every day. And our teams are doing their level best, of course, to live up to these expectations. Lastly, and this is in my opinion the most important success factor of all of them, is to work with all stakeholders on the basis of a real partnership. And I must say, this is what we are again experiencing here. With this, I wish everybody a nice conference day and hopefully soon the first PPP project in railways under realization in this country. Thank you very much. Thank you. Děkuji.
Tak já moc děkuji Kristianovi ještě jednou.
Thank you, Christian. Once again, happy birthday to you. I'm very glad we are just on our schedule. Now we will close the first part of our conference. I'm still here as a moderator. I know that it's too early for questions, but there's one question on Slido for Lenka. There are journalists, we are being online, and there is one specific question, one official question for the Ministry of Transport. So let me take this opportunity for a brief discussion. The question is really brief. What is the probability that PPP will be used for D35? So this is still a road infrastructure, but we are all aware that D35 is a widely discussed project. Lenka? There's a very high probability. Currently, there is a tendering procedure for an advisor who would help us prepare a tender to choose the right concessionaire. I hope the tender will be successful and D35 will be implemented based on PPP project. There are all measures adopted and all steps taken to that end. D35 Opatovec Staré město Mohelnice plus maintenance of one of the previous sections. I believe within 2 years this project should be approved by the House of Deputies in accordance with Act 13 unless there are some changes in legislation. Yes, this has to do with what we've already heard, political will. Political will is truly necessary, and we hope that this will be not only on the part of the government, but also on the part of the House of Deputies. As you can see, D4 started under the previous government. Now it's up and running. We will have to be patient until November 2024 when it will start to be operated, and it will have a big impact on public view. So let me officially close the first block of our conference. I'd like you to give you a big round of applause to His Excellency Alexis Duterte, French Ambassador, Karel Havlíček, Deputy Speaker of the Chamber of Deputies, Lenka Hlubočková, Principal Director, Tomáš, the organizer, and Christian Bigert for his opening speech. Thank you all. There is no coffee break at this moment. It's planned for 11:30, so please stay with us and let's launch the first panel discussion. You can either stay here with us or you can move to the audience. It's up to you. We'll be slightly improvising. We'll have to adjust to the layout. So Tomáš and I will be facilitating discussions of our panelists who will be up here with us. So let me invite on stage. Originally, we expected Jakub Bazgier, head of HSR program. Unfortunately, he had to leave with a minister to Vysočina. So we've got Jiří Merta here. Tomáš Čoček, that a person that I have already mentioned, person working at the Ministry of Transport. Now he's Deputy Director General for Economics from the Czech Railway Infrastructure. He's really the right person to talk about financial aspects. Mona Berkot is our next panelist, Head of International Affairs from SNCF Resort. Professor Andrew McNaughton, Chairman of the Network Rail High Speed, our great advisor and a person who has been cooperating with us since 2017. I'm very glad that Andrew is continues to work with us on this project. Let me move to my seat. The agenda will be as follows. Every speaker, every panelist will have a brief presentation, very fast presentation, and you can continue to use Slido. The QR code can be found in many places. All mics are on, so you can also pose questions in this room. The first person, nice colleague Jiří Merta. Jirka, yours the floor.